Hey, congratulations, Mike.
Thank you so much.
Hey, so how does it feel to get a Emmy nomination for your show, Bronx SIU?
It feels amazing. It feels awesome. It feels more real than it did when I first heard the announcement. It just felt it it felt surreal, because it just did. It just that's the only way I know how to describe it. It's like, no, that can't be. It can't be. It's only our second season, but it was great. It just feels awesome, and yeah, I don't know how to better describe it. It just makes me happy, man. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
You've been directing for a while, so that this must have been quite a shock for you, then, right?
Yeah, my first feature was back in 2012, I think. We went to camera with it, and then it's just been sort of off and on through that. I mean, before that, I was directing stage plays in like Orlando and Los Angeles, and but yeah, it was I don't know if a shock is the right word. You know what the word that what really I felt was humbling. It felt humbling because I really feel that it was, a true team effort between the cast and the crew and myself, and to collaborate and put Bronx SIU out there. So when it happened, it was really more humbling because I was more proud for my cast and my crew because I knew all the hard hours they put in and all the dedication they had. So I really feel like it was like, not to sound corny, but like a team win.
So over the years since 2012,
Mhm.
how did you develop your directing process?
Oh gosh, it's so funny. I was just talking about this with some directing friends of mine who are in the area, and a long time ago, back when I was in college and I was studying directing there. My teacher sort of made an offhanded comment. He said, the best way to be a great director is to get a great script and a great cast and just get out of the way. And I always sort of took that to heart. Was what he meant was listen to the people around you. You hire certain people for a reason. You want them on your team for a certain reason. So don't bring them on board to dismiss what they have to say. So a big part of my process is really keeping lines of communication open to everybody, because you never know when that a great bit of like creative um, um, inspiration will happen. And it could come from, my partner, Dan Garcia. It could come from my lead actress. It could just come from all around. My DPs who are on set, just working really hard, getting those angles. So a big part of my process is to keep communication open and to keep those creative channels going. Because once that ends, if you put a stop to that, even accidentally, it's so hard to get that rolling again. And there's a lot more that goes in with it. I would say at the core of what I do, that's at the core of it. And then I get more specific with technical stuff like camera angles and things like that. But at the core, it's to keep the creative juices flowing at all time, because you never know. You never know when it's going to hit you.
Well, I do have to admit, I checked out an episode. The cinematography is very, very sharp. It looks like a real television show. So
Oh yeah, man. It's without a doubt. Yeah, it's because I think we are a television show. It's just we just happen to be on a digital platform. And Jason Weary, who's the DP from season one, who's been with us through the whole season, and then we picked up a couple guys. You've got Jackman along the way. We worked really hard to get as much of I would say we pushed for a cinematic look, working with what we had, to really get good, beautiful sort of shots and angles as much as we possibly could in every scene. I got to give it up for them. They did a great job.
that is terrific. So just by getting an Emmy nomination is a very big recognition for yourself. What do you think that Bronx SIU is so? Why is it so special?
Oh, why is Bronx SIU so special? Um, I'm gonna just sound like the corniest guy in the world. But I think what makes it special is that every single person is working their tail off to make sure that we have the best shot, the best scene, the best costumes. Like everybody, every department head, they're all working to make sure the shot looks the best it possibly can, and so the story comes out the best it possibly can. And I think that translates to the viewer, in subtle sort of ways. You know, it's like you can't quite, so you watch something and if you don't quite know why it's not working for you, it's some element may be off. But if you see something and it's sort of flawless and you just roll with it and you absorb it and you like it, it's because everything is moving the way it should. And I really think it's because everybody worked hard. They wanted to be there. They enjoyed what they were doing. And I really think that translates, you know, it really does. You know, it translates through the camera to the audience. In my opinion.
Now I was checking out the basically the production notes for Bronx SIU. And I noticed, I believe you directed all the episodes for that show. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. First and second season. And that was just, I wanted to maintain just one single voice through the whole story arc. And you know, I wrote the script, so it was, and they were so intertwined that it would be really hard to sort of section off this one bit, because what happens in episode 3 pays off in episode 6. But if you weren't watching episode 1, you're not going to understand this plot twist in episode 3. So it's all intricate, and it was all sort of it was all up here. So at the end of the day, while it was an immense undertaking to film all these, because we shot everything out of order. You know, on any one day we could be shooting all 6 episodes all out of order. And so I was the only one that had the answers to how all the plots sort of, you know, intermingled. But yeah, so it was a huge undertaking, but I really liked directing that way. And going forward to other projects, we have another show called House Divided, and we're gearing up for our season 3. And we have a team of directors on that, but we're sort of a hive mind, so we're all understanding the same thing. And if we get a season 3 of Bronx SIU, I'll direct all the episodes as well.
So where did you get, just picking your brain, where are you getting all your inspiration, your plot twists for this show?
Oh, the original inspiration was the first. So in season 1, we had 8 episodes, and my partner Dan Garcia came to me with about 5 episodes roughly done, and the 6th episode was an outline, and we read them together. And so he was the inspiration. He was the genesis of Bronx SIU when it first started. And he sort of lateraled that ball to me, and I just took off. I would say that in one way it was, how can I push each character to a breaking point? You know, they're like, I didn't want to kill my characters. I just wanted them to wish they were dead. I wanted to just push and push and push and push and push. And how much could I just take away before they snapped? And that kind of made really good drama. And one thing that I do when I write, I always ask myself what the bad guy is doing. What is the criminal element, the bad guy, the antagonist doing? And I tend to write everything sort of from that perspective, if that makes sort of sense. Like most people, you know, you follow the hero's narrative, but I come in, I'm like, no, I'm going to write from the bad guy's perspective, and how much damage can this guy do? And then my characters in Bronx SIU just basically have to come and keep cleaning that up. So that's how all the twists started happening, because I was sort of viewing everything from the antagonist point of view as opposed to the protagonist point of view. That makes any sort of sense in a backward sort of way.
No, I think that's a very good approach. Do you face different challenges of directing like a digital series like this rather than like a television series or a film project?
Yeah, so with and I have not directed network television like an NBC or ABC. I've shadow directed on them, which is basically you follow their director for an entire episode in their process. And I would say the main difference is that like I was just shadow directing on NCIS New Orleans, and they have roughly $3 million an episode. So while money doesn't spark creativity, it sure helps when you have an idea and you need to get it done. So the challenges for us on an indie show like this is to how to make the shot look like NCIS, which has got a $3 million budget, but do it on a budget that is significantly smaller. I mean, it's like, I don't even know how to compare it. Like you would laugh if I told you what we did the budget for. I can't tell you, but it's just laughable. So those are the challenges. But I tell you what it does do is that when you don't have dollars to throw at something, you're forced to get creative with your shots, and you're forced to get creative with your character understanding. So I double down on character development, and I double down on story and plot, which is also why it leads to these intricate sort of weaving storylines.
Now, I'm gonna go ahead and bring this up before we talk about your other show, A House Divided. But both shows are featured in Urban Movie Channel. Why is that such a great outlet for this?
Man, I just it's so. I find it so interesting that I'm the director on these two shows, and House Divided. We there are two other directors, Honesty Edwards and Dan Garcia. The Urban Movie Channel it's I don't want to say it's up and coming, but they are really pushing forward new and unique stories and platforms. They have a voice, and they want to push out just really unique stories that haven't, in my opinion, they're just not out there right now. And I'm really happy to be a part of the UMC family. They've been great to us. They've backed all our moves on Bronx SIU. They love our A House Divided show. I think A House Divided is currently the #1 show. And at one point in time, Bronx was the #3 show. So we had a #1 and a #3 show on their network. I just really can't say enough good things about them they sort of let me in. I feel like they let me into their family. That's how I feel. And I'm super humbled and flattered, and hopefully can continue working with them for the foreseeable future, because they're great.
Excellent. So let's talk about A House Divided. How did that, it's going on, what, season 3 right now?
Going on to season 3 right now. So A House Divided came up. Dan and he was just sort of telling me about this sort of idea about this really affluential African-American family that suddenly just their whole life just gets taken out from underneath them. They just one problem after another. We just talked about it, and Dan went away and he wrote a 6-episode story arc, and I have to give it up to Dan. And it was just insane. More happens in a 30-minute episode of A House Divided than I think happens in a person's lifetime. But you can't stop watching. It's like watching a train wreck happen. You can't take your eyes off of it. We have the same production team that was on Bronx SIU is on A House Divided. The same camera guys, all of our guys. We brought them over. And Dan was the showrunner, and then he hired myself, and he brought Honesty and myself on to direct, and he directed some scenes as well. It's just a fun ride, man. I just don't know how to describe it. You just got to get into it and just watch, because all the characters are plotting against the other one. There's all sorts of shady stuff going on, and just when you think you got it figured out, no, it just turns and goes the other way. It's great, and the audience seems to love it. They love it, which is great, because I love it too. Because I get the final edits on Bronx SIU and A House Divided, and even after watching the edit, and I've seen the show 100 times at this point, but I'm still intrigued by it. So I feel like after I've seen it close to 100 times, and I still live into it, I know the audience is gonna like it.
If you're working on these two shows on the same network at the same time, how do you basically, put that invisible wall between the two projects?
This last time sort of happened that I was in the editing room for Bronx SIU finishing the final edits, and then when I wasn't editing, I was on set directing, and I would go right back to editing. So for me, there was no stopping. Dan had sequestered himself off to do A House Divided. Honesty was fully on A House Divided, and I was split sort of right down the middle. They're both. I guess it's just easy to sort of compartmentalize. Like, this is the SIU show where it's dark and it's gritty, and people are just you cannot trust anybody on that one, and that I have that tone. And then you come over to A House Divided, and it's dramatic, and it's and beautiful, and sometimes painful to watch these characters go through these things. So each of them have their own very different, unique story and tone. So that helps me sort of stay honest with it. And season 1 was like that. Season 2 had a really beautiful story arc. And season 3 is going to be just wild, I think. Yeah.
I do have to hand that to you. But I also want to basically make a point that you also act. And in fact, I think you act in a few episodes for...
Oh, for House Divided.
Yes.
Yeah, for season 2, I played a character named Carlisle, who I love because I don't get to play the bad guy very often, but he's a boy, he's just a proper villain. And I hope he comes back in season 3. I don't know if he will or not. That's such a weird, unique place to be a producer on the show and a director and act in it. But the guy writing it is like, he's just going to keep me guessing until, like, even though he's one of my best friends, but we've done all these projects together, he's not telling me. So keep me in that. Yeah, that was a great character to play. He comes in and season 2 and basically wreaks havoc on one of the main characters' lives, and there's some pretty disastrous consequences of it. So I'm curious to see what will come of it in season 3.
You don't ever direct yourself, do you?
Not this time. Now, I have directed myself when I had a cameo appearance in SIU, and then in some of the other projects, some of the features that I've done. The first feature I did, I directed myself, and I'm not a big fan of it. I'd much rather someone, I'd rather direct me in my moments, and then I can just wear an actor hat, because then I get too worried about camera angles and lighting and costumes, and I can't pay attention and focus as an actor. And if I can't do that, then the scene doesn't come out the way it needs to do.
Now, I don't want to get too political, but due to the political climate today, how important is it to basically bring out more Black voices into, the media?
It's super important. It's super, super important. And I think it's another reason why I really like being at UMC. It's obviously, that's where they're at. Dan and I talk a lot about how much of politics and how much of like the current events we want to put into our shows. And we honestly go back and forth on it, because we know we have a voice and we want to use it for good and for positivity. At the same time, we want people to escape, and we don't want to give people a fatigue about it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I feel inundated with it. I think everybody does right now, and we need to go forward and we need to make vast changes. But I feel like if you're settling down to watch a House Divided for 30 minutes, that maybe you just want to watch someone else's problems for a little bit that don't necessarily relate to yours, and just watch them struggle and escape. And you can kind of come back and with a little refreshed brain go into it. But the verdict's still out on that. I'm not sure where Dan's going. I gave him my 2 cents. I thought we should make some comments, and we should keep the conversation going. But at the same time, I think when UMC is pushing out such great content, African American content, that sounded better in my head. That didn't sound right coming out. But it automatically, I think, pushes things forward and where it needs to be. We worked, oddly enough, I'll tell you a story. When we were casting season 2 of Bronx SIU, I was struggling to find African American, just people of color, performers and day players for the cast. It was so hard. We were in the heart of New York City, doing a show that, it's a predominantly Black show on a network on UMC, but I just couldn't find them. We had to go make special phone calls to get them just to come down to the audition room. Because I'm very conscious of colorblind casting. When we do it, we tried Bronx SIU specifically. We tried to make sure we just had a wash of sea of color. We didn't want anything to just feel sort of entrenched in one world or not. So I'm very aware of it, and politically, I love what's happening right now. I just don't know if it's going to make it into the series, because Dan sort of feels, not this time, but we'll see. We'll see.
I know in Los Angeles.
Did I just freeze?
You froze a little bit, yeah.
Did I lose you? I think I lost you for a second.
Are you here?
I'm back. You got me? Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Here in Los Angeles, they try to bring up a point of behind the scenes with more Black voices, more Black writers, Black.
Yeah.
How diverse is your production, or are you going to strive for more diversity?
I would say, honestly, I'm probably like the only white guy. We have, because to be blunt, I don't know how else to say it, because Dan's Black and Honesty Black, and our camera team is they're African American. I think like I'm the oddball out. So I think I think we're doing all right, sort of in that sense. Um, yeah, I don't know how else to answer that. Like, yeah, I'm the oddball out. Like, I'm the, yeah. But I mean, obviously that's where we're at, and that's where we're going to stay. Like, I wouldn't trade my cameraman or my crew for anybody. I would, yeah, I would. They're wonderful, wonderful people, and they're brilliant, brilliant DPs. Jason, Yafet, Kalani, brilliant, great guys. We met them in New York. Oh, now they're out with us in LA. Well, Jason Weary was from Los Angeles to begin with. Yeah, so I guess it's a long answer to a short question, but yeah.
Well, then you're the prime example. Someone to also send me a link to a movie called Dinner Party, which you starred. It looked like you had a lot of fun, didn't you?
That was a blast. So that was done by an extremely talented friend of mine, Miles Doliak. It was an independent film. He and several friends that got together in Mississippi, and it was just this crazy avant-garde horror movie. And I don't know if did you see it at all?
I did. I watched it. Yeah.
It's a definite ride, and I don't fare too well in that one. And I came out to play that role and to help him choreograph some of the stunts and the action that were in the movie. I have a stunt background and an action background, and so he used my acting talents up front, and then some of my advice on the back end for just some shots and things like that. But yeah, that's a wild ride. That kind of came out of nowhere. But the horror fans are eating it up. They're loving it. So much to the point where I think he got approached to maybe do a Dinner Party too. So, I mean, yeah, I think that surprised everybody. We thought it was just going to be a oneer, but I'm happy for him. Miles is just a wonderful human being, and I hope he gets a part two. I think it would be great. Just be wonderful for him.
Well, spoiler, too bad you're not coming back.
Yeah, I'm not coming back. Yeah, that was pretty obvious. Lots of blood in that movie. Lots of blood.
Yeah, that is true. There's plenty of gore. Do you enjoy acting more, or do you enjoy behind the lens more?
I enjoy them both. So acting was my first love. I went to school to study playwriting and acting and directing. And like, when I'm an actor, I look at the camera and the director and I'm like, I want to go do that right now. And then when I'm directing, I'm like, oh, that's a fun scene. I want to go act. So it's like, I guess you could say, like, they're both my mistresses, like, I'm constantly going back and forth between the two. I just love storytelling. I just want to tell a really good story, and I want people to enjoy the story and have them just go for a ride with me. That's ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what I want. All technical things aside, everything aside, I just want you to enjoy the story and just go for it. Go for the ride.
Well, as I'm going to start wrapping things up, because obviously I've taken a lot of your time. So during this pandemic, are you basically refreshing some ideas for the TV show, or preparing for more new projects for yourself?
So I've been doing a lot of writing. I wrote, just completely off the wall, I wrote a show called, what I'm hoping to turn into an anime feature, like action vampire, very like a futurist sort of vampire demon battle going on, but an anime thing. But what Dan and I were boxing, we went over an outline for season 3 of A House Divided, and it's going to be great. And then I'm writing, currently pinning another show, which I'm entitling Reno Rules, which is about the criminal underground. It's a comedy about the criminal underground in Reno. And it's sort of taking development right now, and it's going to be an interesting ride if we can get that one up too. That'll, hopefully we can add that to our list of things. It'd be great if UMC would like to do it. We're going to take it to them first and see what they have to say.
Excellent.
Hopefully put some more people to work.
That's great. And one last question. Hopefully it's fun one. You don't have to spoil anything. I noticed in your credits that you are doing some stunt work for the upcoming Bill and Ted's movie as a knight. Could you talk about the experience of being on that production? Because we're so close for that movie to be released.
Oh my God, we're right around the corner. I love Bill and Ted. I just love the whole idea of be excellent to one another. So Bill and Ted holds a special place in my heart. I'll try to be brief because I know you said you want to wrap things up. So at Universal Studios Orlando, they did a show called the Bill and Ted Stunt Show. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's worth Googling. So I played Ted. I played Ted for 6 years in this special event show, the Bill and Ted Show. So it has this huge, super special place in my heart. So being on set and seeing the phone booth, being able to touch the phone booth, and seeing Alex Winters and Keanu Reeves. I didn't get a chance to talk to them because we were so separated. But to see them perform as Bill and Ted was just awesome. And I was part of the climactic scene at the end of the movie. And it's going to be wild, I think. I'm so excited for it. The set was great. Everybody was great. The director was phenomenal. His name escapes me, but he was a blast. We did a lot of improv stuff and behind the scenes stuff. So I don't know, but it looked really cool. And the phone booth is alive and kicking. So it's going to be fun.
Well, that sounds pretty exciting. Well, anyways, hey, congratulations with everything. Can't wait to see what the results are tomorrow night for you.
Oh, yeah, Emmys. Yeah, me too. I'm excited about it. Thank you so much, man. This has been a blast. Thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem. Next time, all right?
All right. Take care.
Okay, thank you.